Hey everyone, today we're going to be checking out some accessories from Orbitkey that are meant to keep your tech and everyday carry essentials organized. And Orbitkey is of course well known for their key management solutions, but they've continued to expand their product lineup over the past couple of years and built out a very interesting ecosystem of gear that will help keep all sorts of items easy to find, whether you're putting it in a bag, keeping it on your desk, and so really trying to provide a home for all of the types of things that you might need for your day-to-day. And in this video, we're going to be taking a look at their 2-in-1 tech pouch, the pencil case, the second edition of their Nest organizer, and a hybrid laptop sleeve. So lots of interesting stuff to dive into. Before doing so, if you're new here, welcome. My name is Danny, and on this channel, we love reviewing popular travel and everyday carry gear. If you like these types of videos and be interested in seeing more, please consider subscribing as it helps the channel out a lot. So with all that being said, let's go ahead and jump in. Here we have some of Orbitkey's newer pouches. On one side, we have their 2-in-1 system. So this smaller pouch is meant to go inside of the larger one, and these can be purchased together. And then there is also a pencil case, which can be purchased separately. I believe that there's bundles to kind of purchase all three if you want. And I just really like the variety that this system provides to adapt to a number of different types of things that you might be carrying. And so I'll actually start with the pencil case first. I've always been a fan of this style of pouch, even though I don't carry a ton of pens and pencils. I'm not an artist or anything like that. This form factor to me works for all sorts of everyday carry and tech accessories. I like that, they tend to be a little bit flatter, and all of these are gonna offer, durable materials, well-protected zippers. And so I really like the form factor of this pencil case. It does have the ability to expand out a little bit or collapse in depending on what you're carrying. And this one is designed so that you have this section here that will allow you to quickly access your most used either pen, pencil. In my case, I'm actually storing my scissors here, which they kind of have a pen form factor, but I actually use these quite a bit. And so I love that I can just reach in and get that when I need to, put it away. I don't have to worry about other things spilling out. And so that's a pretty interesting idea. But of course, you can open this up all the way, and then you have this divider that separates the pouch into two different segments. And as you can see here, I'm using this as more of a mini tech pouch, not so much as an actual pencil case. And so on one side, because of the volume that's provided, I'm able to store my headphones, my little wired set of headphones. You have a couple of elastic bands on the divider, and one of them I'm storing a retractable USB-C cable. And then on the other side, you have some elastic slip pockets on the divider. These are a little smaller. It seems like they'll work well for things like memory cards, or in my case, I have an AirTag here. And then you just have a larger section that can store dongles. Here I have a USB-C HDMI adapter. I have an additional cable, and then I also have a multi-tool, and all of those things fit in there without any issue. And yeah, it's a simple case. It gets the job done. I like because of its flexibility and the fact that it can expand and compress. Could also see myself using this for other everyday carry accessories, maybe even as like a super minimal toiletry kit. And again, the unique sort of quick access section here. And if you're going to use it for pencils or pens or anything like that, it will definitely work in that instance. You can see how kind of slim this manages to get. And then for the 2-in-1 system, at the moment, I have these separated out. And in general, I'm not a huge fan of putting pouches inside of other pouches. I know I kind of like to have the pouches themselves holding gear, and then I'll toss them into my bag. It is cool that this one can fit in if you want to combine them, but I prefer to actually use them separately because each one is so useful. And so for this one that goes inside of the bag, I like that this is almost treated like a desk caddy. So it actually has the ability to stand up on its own when it's loaded out, as you can see here. So I can flip the lid open, and then I have access to the various sections so that I can find what I need to. And so you have an elastic band here that can hold a pen, a stylus, and then you again have a divider in the middle that kind of separates it into two primary sections. So on the front, I have a portable battery as well as my AirPods. And then you have a few elastic bands on the back. And I don't really use these that much. They're gonna be good for, cables, dongles. I also have my phone mount in here. And then you have this kind of more solid divider that will separate out this back compartment that also has, again, some, slip pockets here that you can use for an AirTag, memory cards, smaller adapters. And then in the back, I'm just using this to store some of my cables. So I have cable for my tablet, my phone, and then I also have the laptop charger for my MacBook, just to kind of showcase the size of item that can fit in here. And so again, you have that same sort of collapsible form factor, so it'll be slimmer or thicker depending on what you're storing. And moving to the larger tech pouch now, this one has a nice protective material on the exterior. You have some good handles here so you can pick this up, carry it on the side, easily pull it out of your bag. You have a couple of attachment points if you want to clip on additional things. And then you have one quick access pocket. On the front, there is a pass-through, so if you want to pair this with the phone and have a portable battery somewhere in the pouch, you can connect it. I'm actually storing my portable battery here on the front, just to kind of showcase again the size when this is packed out. And then you have a zipper that goes all the way around and allows this to open up so that you can reach whatever you need. And so we've seen this style with a lot of the modern tech pouches that kind of open up like this, and they have a couple of different sections. And so I actually like that the size of this allows me to hold something like my drone. So if I want to kind of keep everything together, I can put my DJI Neo in here. It fits comfortably. And so I thought that was really cool. This would be where that pouch would actually fit if I was using both pouches together. I could put it in here and then, access when I need to, open it up, take it out if I want to. And so as I said, I prefer to keep them separate, but you do have that option. And then on the inside here, you have some slip pockets on the back, nice elastic material. So this can work for, other tech items as we've been discussing. And then you have these slots in the middle that you can use for anything that's maybe a little slimmer. I'm using it to store my Peak Design phone stand. And on the other side, you have this divider that separates it into two sections. You can actually collapse this down. If you don't want to use it, you can separate it. But in my case, I actually like having the separation. So on one side, I have a USB-C hub that I use to charge my laptop and all other devices. This is one from Hyper that I've been using. Really cool so far. And you can see that it slides in there without any issue. You have an additional slip pocket here. On the other side, I have an international travel adapter from Anker, which I've also been testing out. I absolutely love the form factor of this. Super slim, great for traveling. I just wanted to, kind of see what types of things would fit in here. And so that slides in there nicely. You could see myself storing, a GoPro or a portable battery for my camera or something like that in its charger. And then on the back, there's again the slip pocket. I'm using this to store my hard drive and the USB-C cable so that I could actually plug it into my laptop. And yeah, this layout I think does a great job of providing flexibility for various types of loadouts. And then you have a elastic band here at the top. You have two of them actually, so that you can store a pen, stylus, depending on what you need. So great to have those options there. And then you have this clip here, which actually is what allows the divider to collapse down. So you can remove that, move that to the side, and then you actually just have two full-size compartments if you prefer not to have that, separation here. So, I think that this is a really cool, adaptable system. I really like that with the 2-in-1 system, you get both of these pouches. I think my favorite of the three may be this, one that goes inside of the larger tech pouch. I believe this may be sold on its own. And then, I just think that this simple layout is the type of thing that I normally gravitate towards. And then if you want to, you can place it inside just to be able to access some of your essentials without, having to deal with the whole tech pouch. And, if you don't need to carry as much, or you just, have the types of tools that would benefit from this type of form factor, then it's great that you have the option to get the one that you need or combine them all into a system that's just going to be very modular and organized. Up next, we have the updated edition of the Nest Organizer. And to me, this feels a little bit more niche, but I've always been a big fan of this idea. You have a protective solid case with an adjustable layout on the inside that can also serve as a place to hold the items that are in your pocket when you're just at your desk. And so I think that this has worked very well. I've had one on my desk for a number of years now, which is kind of the organizer that I have in my house. But this is great to just toss into a bag. I actually really love how solid this feels on the exterior. For things like my hard drive or anything that's a little bit more delicate, this is always going to give me that extra level of confidence that it's going to be protected in a bag or something like that. And so I have the black colorway here, which I think looks great. And then the design is mostly the same as the original version. The biggest difference is going to be in the height. It's a little bit taller so that you can store something like a laptop charger for a MacBook, which didn't comfortably fit in the previous version. And so great to have that extra bit of space. It's not a huge difference, but enough for the types of items that people might want to store that didn't fit in the original. And then you have, really solid build quality with the polycarbonate exterior. It's got a nice kind of fabric. And then you have the elastic band here, which helps keep everything closed. And this is going to offer a little loop for a pen. Here I have a Fisher Space pen, fits very easily. It's probably a little too small for this, but that's the pen that I normally have with me. And then when this is resting on a desk, I absolutely love this valet tray here. So you can put things like a flashlight, pocket knife, maybe a wallet. And these are the things that are always in my pockets. And instead of sitting on them or having them uncomfortably in my pocket, I can just place them down. It's gonna be a little bit more organized. And so I really love the kind of Marie Kondo spirit of a lot of Orbitkey's organizer. And I feel like this one really embodies that as far as everything having a place. And then you also have the wireless charging section here, which is a little bit faster with the new edition. And so it includes a USB-C cable that you plug in on one side, the other side goes to a charging block, and then you have a wireless charger for your AirPods or your phone when you're sitting down at your desk. This I don't use quite as much. It's, you know, nice to have something to charge on if you're just stationary somewhere. But even without that, I still think, you know, it's a nice place to just kind of take things out of your pocket when you're not using it. So I could kind of take or leave that feature, but it does work a little bit better on this version. And then getting into the Nest itself, once you release the elastic band, and I have had the original for a while now. Thankfully, this hasn't snapped or haven't had any issues with it. So, you know, it has held up. And then this opens in two ways. So you can either flip open the lid and just, you know, be able to grab something quickly. You can actually fully remove this if you want to. That was always one of the cool kind of designs with the hinge here. And the layout is adjustable. So it has these Velcro dividers on the inside, which are a little bit taller on this version to go along with the extra height that you have. And, you know, I think that these do a good job of just allowing you to set up a layout that's going to work best for you. Now, even though this is a little bit taller, this is still going to be a less forgiving space than many other tech pouches like the one we saw earlier in the video, as it's so rigid. And so, you know, you kind of have to think through what you want to store and how you want to use it. And then I really don't like to change the layout very much. I'm using this to store sort of the primary items that I might have with me, regardless of, you know, whatever day I'm going into the office. If I'm just taking something very simple, I always want to have a wired set of headphones with me. I will have my portable hard drive, the cable to go along with it, and then my wireless mouse. And all of those things, you know, fit well with the layout that I have here. Once this is empty, if, you know, you were to open it in this direction, it can tip over. So you'll want to keep an eye on that. But now you can get a better look at the inside here, and you know, it's easy to move these dividers around. I like that even though it's easy to move them, they don't fall off when, you know, you're walking around with the bag. So far my items have stayed in place. Just have to push down, and then it includes 6 of them, I believe. I actually left one of them off because it just didn't work out with the items that I had here. But you know, I could take this off, store my laptop charging brick there. And so, you know, it's a fun, unique layout, and it, you know, it's great that you can customize it to work with the types of things that you want to store in an item like this. And then on the lid, you of course have a couple of different slots, and I'll take the top off just to make it easier to look. So it'll be a great spot for, you know, you have this elastic section here, which could work well for a smaller adapter. You have small slots for SD cards or SIM cards or something like that. Slot for maybe a business card, a little notebook. These aren't super elastic. I would have liked to have maybe seen just a little bit more give to make it easier to take advantage of them and to also help hold items in place. But in general, it's also not a section that I'm using quite as much, as the majority of the value for me comes from the dividers in this section here that will store the things that I want to keep protected, and then from the valet section that will keep my stuff organized and easy to grab when I'm just sitting down at my desk. And so although this may not be for everybody, as it is a little bit pricier and it's also fairly heavy for an organizational option, if you're looking for something that's going to be unique and give you that extra bit of protection from, you know, the hard shell that it has, and I think this is still going to be a very cool option to consider. If you're looking for some extra protection for your laptop, or your backpack doesn't have a padded laptop compartment, then a sleeve like this option from Orbitkey can be a really useful accessory. I normally don't use these types of sleeves that often, but there have been a couple of bags that have come out as of late that I've really enjoyed using that don't have the padding in the laptop area that I would like to see. And so having something like this just allows me to still use that bag, carry my device, and feel like it's gonna have the protection that it needs. And I was also intrigued by this option because of some of the extra features that Orbitkey includes in their design. And so first off, with the aesthetic, this just looks like a really nice high quality sleeve. You have the Orbitkey branding here on the front. The material feels great. And the way that this is designed, it actually allows the ports for your laptop to be accessed. So if you want to charge it while it's closed, you can do so. So really thoughtful design there. And then it's got a magnetic flap here that keeps this closed when you're not using it. It's when you open it up, however, that you can see some of the benefits start to come out. And so at the moment, I'm using this to store my 14-inch MacBook Pro. They have a larger version for 16-inch MacBooks and other similarly sized devices. You can see that this, works well for a slimmer laptop, I would say. And what I really like about it is that it expands open, and then you actually have a built-in mouse pad. And I never would have thought that I needed to have a mouse pad when I was working from different locations, but there have been multiple times recently where I always wish that I had somewhere to put my mouse. And so if you open the laptop up, you now have this dedicated section that works perfectly as a place for your mouse. And depending on how you orient it, it will work for right hand or left hand usage. And so very simple, but very effective. And then you can close it up, you put your laptop away, and you can kind of put your workstation away. So as someone who works remote, who works from various coffee shops, from hotel rooms, it's always nice to have accessories like these that will allow you to create a more comfortable working environment. And so if you're looking for a sleeve that's going to not only help keep your laptop protected, but that can also include the built-in mouse pad to just make it easier to work, and this is going to be an excellent option to take a look at. And so to wrap up, I'll include links in the description below to the product pages for each of these items if you want to learn a little bit more or pick one of them up. The pricing is going to vary quite a bit depending on the item that you actually go with, but Orbitkey seems to have a nice variety of price points and styles to match up with your needs. And if you're interested in checking out other similar accessories, I'll make sure to include links to some of the roundup videos that I've done where I've talked about my favorite tech and everyday carry organizers in a couple of different categories. There's just so many awesome options on the market nowadays from companies like Air, Bellroy, Evergoods, Alpaca. So make sure to check some of those out if you're looking for a different style or something that will match up better with the types of items that you're going to be carrying. And if you have ideas for other pouches that you'd like to see me feature on the channel, please let me know about those as well. And I want to thank Orbitkey for sending the items for me to test out, and to you guys for watching and supporting the channel. If you enjoyed this video, please give us a like, and if you haven't already, make sure to subscribe so you don't miss any upcoming videos, and we'll see you in the next one.